Boom! What's going on, guys? Energy News Beat, episode number 171, here on this gorgeous Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020. As always, I'm your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com, Stuart Turley, and renowned Yoda impressionist.
Beautiful day neighborhood you are.
It's going to be a good day. You can check everything out that we've got coming up on the show here via our rundown. Weird stuff here. We got crude oil stocks. We'll cover ConocoPhillips cutting 500 jobs. No one saw that coming, said nobody. BMO exit all oil and gas. And a wildly interesting theory I heard on a podcast involving EOG and the Buddha plug. We will cover all of that in a bag of chips on the International News Desk. But first, guys, just subscribe to this oil and gas podcast via our YouTube channel, oilandgas360.com. And our YouTube channel, Oil and Gas 360-Intercom. We really appreciate everyone who has subscribed. Turn on those pesky notifications so you never miss an episode. On the equities markets, couple things. Salesforce bought Slack. They dropped 8.5 percentage points. But really what that did for the overall markets was nothing. We saw the Dow Jones actually, outperform, even though one of their biggest components, Salesforce, actually did drop. Here's the key on the Nuggets. Wednesday's move, Senate Majority Leaders, we ran on the show yesterday, a $908 billion stimulus package was passed by the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. They came out in support of that. Today, Mitch McConnell came out and rejected that bid. The quote out of the House Speaker's office was the potential for fiscal stimulus in a lame duck section does appear to be on the rise, but any package that will likely be significantly smaller than the $1 trillion that has been talked about prior to the election. So that is the quote coming from the sentiment out. If you're wondering what the stimulus is going to happen, I don't know where that's coming. I would just be wary of it. When we move over to the crude oil side, crude oil had itself a good day, up 1.8 percentage points, 45.20, back into the curve, 0.8 percentage points. Natural gas gets sliced 4%. Not a good day, $2.75 back into the curve, about 2.5 percentage points out that. Energy equities and oilfield services have a great day, up 3.5 and 3.2 percentage points, respectively. 55.73 for XOP and OIH coming in at 148.63. When we look at some of our equities on the downside to begin with, Telvernian down 3.8 percentage points after having a new CEO. Contango Oil and Gas, after being up huge off the acquisition of oil. OilFi comes back down 5 percentage points. Sundance Energy down 8 percentage points. On the upside, good numbers. Northern Oil and Gas up 11 percentage points. Callan up 11 percentage points. Abrehas up 11 percentage points. QEP up 11.7 percentage points. We'll run a little story about something interesting that's happening with them. Cosmos Energy is our biggest mover. They up 15 percentage points. Before we get into the International News Desk, guys, the show is powered by Data Gumbo, which is an award-winning technology company with customers all around the world who build, manage, automate their own smart contract. Data Gumbo smart contracts offer a new approach to commercial relationships, one that reduces friction, streamlined operations, increases transactional certainty, and increases cost savings. Every transaction is accurate, certain, touchless, automated, and powered via the Gumbo net. Go get yourself a big helping of Data Gumbo via their website, www.datagumbo.com. Stu, internationally, what's going on today?
Oh, we got just a barrel of fun. You sent this one over this morning, and I think you and I got really tickled over Petrobras. His CEO, Roberto Castillo Bronco, his quote is like, net zero is a fad. That's like a fad to make promises for 2050. In this magical year, the head of Brazil State Control said in an interview, on this side of the Atlantic, we have a different view of climate change.
Little did everybody know he's actually a member of the ABS by Carbon Net Zero. He's a member of that club. We meet weekly. There's a couple other big names out there that will drop.
All right. Moving on. We're flapping across the Atlantic here. We're going to Iran. My beloved buddies over there. Okay. Iran's government has got some serious issues. They are presenting a draft state budget of $33.7 billion to Parliament on their Parliament to promise less reliance on oil. Okay. Who are you going to believe on the Republic's thing? Here's a quote from him. We believe Iran will sell more oil next year, around 2.3 million barrels per day, including the exports and domestically. But the revenue will be used to develop or empower underprivileged. I'm going to hold my breath on that. There ain't going to happen. Now, underprivileged on all their oil revenues? Who's smoking something there?
What do we believe more, the communications department out of Iran or a press release?
I'm not sure, man. I'm not going to believe that one. Okay. Coming right along, I got one of my sources here. This is really interesting. Russia's economy has absolutely suffered immensely through this COVID issue. The flaws in the Russian and communist economy are too deep to gloss over. They just have been talking right now. They are about ballparkish 30% of their GDP is fossil fuels. They are following Iran in this comment. It's no secret that the Russian economy is under serious stress, made worse by the pandemic. But his remarks are giving the unavoidable economic difficulties. The Kremlin appears to be changing its tone and preparing for more hardships. Here's where it's going to go. Russia has sustained substantial reserves in its natural wealth fund, about 13 trillion rubles, but it's not enough to hold them over. They're going to have to change their economy away from fossil fuels. I don't know how they're going to do it. How do you change 30% of your GDP?
It's tough, and I think the answer is you don't right away. You have to wean yourself off. One of our favorite people, David Forsberg, he talks about the idea of how do you eat an elephant? You take one bite, you take another bite, you take another bite, and then you 5 years in the future, you realize, whoa, I've eaten more than this. So I think you start somewhere, peel it back.
This source is impeccable, and they're saying bad times are coming for Russia. On their 4.5% loss in GDP this year, and it's actually going to be increasing dramatically in Q4. Horrible, horrible. I feel my heart goes out to the Russian folk.
Yeah, we'll send you a case of vodka. When we move over here on the U.S. shale side, a couple interesting things. First off, we had crude oil inventories drop today, 700,000 barrel draw. That supports prices that really is what caused prices to spike about 1.5 percentage points. A couple other numbers: crude oil production was up to 11.1 million barrels, which is an increase of about 100,000 barrels. Utilization 78.2, which is a good number, which is actually down from 78.5 last week, 78.7, down 0.5 percentage points, but still above that really good 75% marker. On the East Coast, we saw really the biggest utilization draw we saw was on the East Coast, what we would call PAD 1. That went from 68.7 down to 67.7. QEP, we mentioned they were up big today. They rose as much as they were up almost 12 percentage points today, mostly intraday, after DebtWire came out and said that Ovintiv and Diamondback are both interested in acquiring QEP assets and acquiring them. While QEP is not running an official sale, there are 3 sources familiar with the deal, according to DebtWire. The proceeds from the asset sale could help QEP address its 2020 debt burden. QEP, Fang and Onvino did not return comments. So is it a takeover? No, it's more of a sale, which is interesting. It's not an M&A deal. It's more of a what we would call A&D, which is a little out of my speculative range here. But this, they've got some debt they need covered up, so this would be a good thing for QEP. This one. Next headline: ConocoPhillips to cut 500 Houston jobs after Concho takeover. Nobody saw that coming. Way out of left field. Call me shocked. You take over a company, you say we're going to increase cost savings. Well, outside of cutting jobs is the biggest one. Another thing is to worry about your operating expenses. And we have a great article we ran on Oil and Gas 360 today about lowering your OpEx and how to do that, because that's something you can do before you lay people off. But if you're like ConocoPhillips, you just lay people off. 500 Houston jobs, mostly coming in the administrative and oil and gas exploration. Unfortunately. Midland proud, Midland strong, though. Ain't that right, Stu?
You bet.
This happened actually on Monday, but I mean, I indicated to cover Bank of Montreal, who we call BMO, is exiting the oil and gas investment banking space and will focus on Canada. It has made the quote was they made a financial decision for an orderly wind down of our non-Canadian investments in corporate banking energy business. Going forward, the company said by email its capital markets energy business will be focused on Canada. Interesting. U.S. oil and gas business going away. They got 50 staff members out there. Probably see some new energy finance podcasts too. So we're gonna have to step our game up with all the new talent that's hitting the market. Here's the interesting thing. This is something that I saw. I was listening to a podcast last night. Chuck Yates Needs a Job. As you guys know, Chuck Yates used to work over at Kane Anderson in the restructuring that we covered about 8 months ago. He branched off, now hosts a podcast. Had a guy on his podcast who identified himself as his real name, Greg Kane. He's an independent landman. Holy smokes, did he drop a bomb? Okay, Stu, have you ever heard of the Buddha Field in East Texas? In Eagle Ford?
I hadn't until you told me.
It's just north of Houston, right east of College Station. They're kind of in, really in the heart of the Eagle Ford. From 2012 to 2014, when the field was discovered, the Buddha Field pulled out some pretty mediocre wells. Something interesting happened though in 2015 that Greg Kane really puts together, and I'll walk through kind of the timeline. In 2015, the allowables that come out of the Eagle Ford. Remember, you're only allowed takeaway capacity is something that's very key in Texas. They don't want too much capacity because they want to make sure that the pipelines that they're built, they're filled. So they don't want to be just building empty pipelines. That's key here. So in 2015, for some reason, the allowable takeaway capacity from this field dramatically began increasing. In 2018, 30 pipelines were built between 2018 and 2020. 30 pipelines have been either built or planned, and this is the key, all with 30 to 48-inch diameter, which is perfect for liquids transportation. There's been additional oil storage of over 400 million barrels of oil in that thing. The analysis from there is this. He believes, and he names the company EOG, is hiding what could be the largest oil and gas play in the continental United States. They've discovered it in 2015 that they're in cahoots with the government for national security reasons. His evidence is, one, the allowable capacity increasing in 2015 after the 2012 to 2014 well sucked. He wouldn't do that. The Texas Railroad Commission is not that dumb. And that all of this pipeline coming in and out is solely for this reason. Why would you have them empty? Huge conspiracy, and they're keeping it under the wraps due to because of a national security, because the government doesn't want to get this out. Holy smokes!
Michael, don't tell the Biden administration, because they'll cut it out right now.
No, they'll stop all of these pipelines.
Just kidding. Wow, that is crazy.
So. And on the podcast, they talked about, he mentioned the host of that podcast, Chuck Yates, talked about he has a guy who works in a Gulf Coast refinery, and he's seen pipe going in all around him. And so,
wow,
I don't know. We're not saying this is actually happening, but this is a man who's come up with his name on it. Greg Kane, independent landman. Love it. Wow. I love it when people come out and take these stands. Holy smokes, EOG in the Buddha Field.
Wow, let's get him on the show.
Let's do it. And with that, guys, we're going to drop that bomb, let you get out of here, get back to work, finish up your day. Thank you for checking out the Energy News Beat here on this gorgeous Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020. For Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Bennett. Guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Energy News Beat.